Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing the Gradie sign up page from codewell.cc/challenges. So you can head over to this link to this website, and when you scroll all the way to the bottom, then you're going to find this challenge. And when you click on this card, it's going to open up this inner page where we can download the starter files, and then we can begin our challenge. Now, once you download this, then it is going to download into a folder that is called Gradie Sign Up Starter Files, which is a zip folder. And then when you extract it, then it is going to extract into this folder. And this folder contains this bigger folder inside, for lack of a better word. And when you open up this folder, then you're going to find two new folders inside. And we're not going to be dealing with the Mac OS folder, but we're going to be working inside this one. And so what I've done is I've opened up this folder in Visual Studio Code, which is my preferred code editor, and I have it right here. And you can see that we have the assets folder, we have the design folder, and then we have the readme. And so the first thing that we're going to do is I want to rename these two folders into a small a, so assets with a small a, and then this is going to be design with a small d. And before we continue, I just want to mention that I already made a video with this project, but for some reason my microphone kept cutting out and it was sounding like this. And it is a sign up form. So we have this, and then we have this for the mobile design. And so I have to redo the entire video again. So that is basically what I'm going to do in this video. So let's go ahead and get the font. We are going to be using the Roboto font from Google Fonts. So let me open this up. And then we are going to grab the 400 font. So 400, I already have it, really? Let me see. Okay, so let me just remove this one. So we're going to be using the Roboto 400 and the bold 700. And I'm going to be using the import tab. So let me copy this. And then let's go ahead and let me create my index.css file. And then inside here, I'm just going to paste it in so that I don't forget it. And then I'm going to create an index.html file, which is going to be our entry file for our project. And I've just remembered that I should probably open up our project so that we can see what we are going to be dealing with. So let me open this up. There we go. And then I think I can close this. That should be fine. So we have this for the mobile design. We're going to be building it mobile first. So I will need the mobile design. And this is the sign up page. I don't want that one. I want this one. Where is it? Oh, it is the same thing. Okay. So we have the mobile view right here. And for the mobile view, we have this one on top. And then we have the login form on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up in Figma so that I'm able to grab the images using the tool in Figma. And that is going to help us out immensely during our project. So let me go ahead and do that. And so there we go. So I have imported the desktop image in Figma so that we can actually use it. And this is just going to remain here for a while until we start grabbing the colors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into VS Code, and then I want to build out the HTML structure that we're going to have. And for that, I'm going to be using the desktop design because it's going to help us out. So for the desktop design, we can see that we have a background gradient, and then we have this container, which has this first div or an article, and then it has this second div as well, which is the login form. So the way we're going to structure it, therefore, is this. Because I'm using Emmet, I can say exclamation and enter, and it generates this boilerplate for me. And then let's remember to link our CSS file. So link index.css. And then below this, I'm going to change this into Gradie sign up page. And I'm not sure whether you can hear the noise outside, but I think I'm going to try to minimize it when I'm editing. So the title is going to say Gradie sign up page. And then what I'm going to do is this. The background gradient that we have here is actually an image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the image on the body using CSS. And then this part is going to be inside a class called container. So I'm going to create a div with a class of container. And then inside here, I'm going to have two divs or two. Let me use articles because I've used divs on top just to distinguish it a bit. So I'm going to say I'm going to have an article, And then this article is going to have an h1 that says this. So h1 that says Gradie. And then below this, we're going to have a paragraph that says beautiful gradients in seconds. And then below this paragraph, we have this image. So we're going to have an image tag, and the source comes from assets/iPhone mockup. And then once we have that article, then we want to go ahead and build out the second part. And the second part is going to be inside another article of its own. And then we're going to have an h2 that says login, which is this one on top. And then right below this h2, we are now going to add in our form. So we're not going to have an action attribute, an action attribute. And then now the way I want to structure this is I want to have a label for this and then an input, but I want to be able to style them out, right? So what I'm going to do is this. Inside this form, I'm going to have divs, which are going to be the container for each of the inputs. So the label as well as this one, just so that I can style them out in my CSS. So I'm going to say this one is going to have a label. The for attribute is going to be for the email, and then the label is just going to say email. And then it's going to have another input with a type of email that says email and an ID of email so that it links to this label. And then the placeholder, so placeholder is going to say john@example.com, and then we're going to set it to required just so that it adds some bit of HTML5 validation. And then we're going to do the same thing for the second input. So create a div and then a label, and this is going to be the label for the password. And then the text just says password. And then we're going to have an input with a type of password, with a name of password, and with an ID of password, once again, so that it links to the label, so that when you click on this label, then this input is the one that gets highlighted. And then the placeholder is going to say at least 8 characters. And then we're also going to set it to required. And then once we have that, then we're going to create an input with a type of checkbox, which is going to be this one. So let's go below this div. Let's just create another div, just because we have been using divs for the other inputs as well to make it uniform. So we're going to say create an input with a type of checkbox, with a name of checkbox, with an ID of checkbox. And then we're going to say this, we're going to say by creating an account. So let me place it, should I place it inside? Let me say inside a small tag. And then we're going to say by creating an account, you agree to the terms and conditions. So you agree to the terms and conditions. But notice that this is a link which should link to an outside page, but we don't have the terms and conditions page, but we can style it out to look like a link. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out and then add in an anchor tag, but I'm going to place it to go towards an href, meaning it's a link that doesn't exist really. And then we're going to be able to style this out to look like a link. Now below this div, we're going to have our submit button. So we're going to create a button with a type of submit that is going to say create an account. And then we're going to be able to style this out. And once we have that, then I think that is going to be all for our HTML. So let's go ahead and save this. And then inside our index CSS, we can begin to add some bit of global styles that we're going to need. So for example, we are going to reset the margin, reset the padding, and then set the box sizing to border box so that it uses the CSS box model. And then I want to specify the font family on my universal selector. And I'm doing that because there are elements such as buttons and inputs which don't take up the font family of the body if you are to specify this on the body. So I want to make sure that every element in our HTML is going to take this font family, and then it's going to have a fallback of sans serif. And then I'm going to set the images to have a max width of 100% so that it doesn't cause an overflow. And then for the body, we are going to do the following. We are going to add a background. Now, before I do that, let me just open this up using live server for demonstration purposes so that you can see what this is going to do. Now, I just want to mention that I have opened this up using live server. If you want, you can install this extension. You don't have to use it. I do recommend it, however. And what it does is that it opens up a local development server on localhost 5500, so that every time that you make a change in your code editor, then it automatically applies in the browser, so that you don't have to keep hitting the reload button. Now, once you have that, then we're going to place this to the right, and you can see that this is how our page looks. Quite ugly, but we're just going to style it out. So let's go ahead now and do this. Let's see, we're going to say the mobile version, by the way, I just remembered, the mobile version doesn't have the background color showing anywhere, the background linear gradient. If you check, this is the mobile version. So we don't really need to add this just yet, just so that when you're on mobile, you don't have to load the background image. So what I'm going to do therefore is this. I'm just going to place this to the right, and then we're going to style out the mobile version first. And therefore what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to say that I want to go inside my first div here, sorry, inside my first article here, inside the class of container, so that I can style this out to look like it does in the design. And you know what, just because it's going to be easier, let me place this to be full screen, and then let me inspect this so that I can open this up on a mobile phone. Actually, this is okay. So that we're going to have this. So this is the mobile version. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to be switching to this tab so that I can be getting these colors. So therefore, let me see. Let's begin by grabbing the first color on top. And this color, the way we're going to do that is we're going to create a rectangle in Figma. Just place it here. And then the color for this rectangle, we're going to be using this tool and selecting this color. And then once you do that on this rectangle, then you can properly select the color here. So just copy. Did I copy it? Copy. And then let's go into our CSS where I can place this full screen. And we're going to do this. So I'm going to say that inside the class of container, I want to go inside the article. And you know what? Let me give this article class names because it's going to be easier. So let me give this a class of first article, and then let me give this a class of second article, because it's going to be easier to style them out in our CSS. So inside the container, I want to go inside the class of first article, and then I'm going to say give this a background color of hashtag this, which I've just copied, and when I save it, then we should be able to see it right there. Okay, so that's looking okay. Now we just need to style this better. So we're going to say give it a padding all around of about let me see, maybe about 3 rem. Actually not 3 rem on the top and bottom, 1.5 rem on the left and right, and oops, we don't want this on the bottom, so let's say 0 on the bottom. Okay, so that we're going to have that. And then let me see, how does the design look? Okay, so this is centered. Okay, that's easy enough to do. All you need to do is just say text align center, and this is going to move everything to the center. And then now I can go inside the H1 to style it out to look a bit better. So let me copy this, paste it here, and say that for the H1, I want the color to be white, and I want the font size to be about 3 rem. Okay, that's too big for mobile, so 2 rem. Okay, then give it a margin bottom of about 1 rem to push away from the paragraph. And then the paragraph has this like slight blue color, this blue color, so I want to grab it as well. So I'm going to select this rectangle once again, and then using my tool, I'm going to zoom in so that I can select this color, and then you're going to notice that it is applied here so that I can copy it. And then once I copy it, then I can just say that for the H1, sorry, not for the H1, but now this is for the paragraph. So I'm going to say for the container, first article, and then for the paragraph, then I want the color to be this one, hashtag that one. Save it, and we should be able to see it right there. That is nice, nice, nice. And once we have that, then would you look at that, this is already done for the top part. Now the reason why we have this space here is if you inspect, you will notice that this space is the image. So this top part is the image, and you can just leave it like that. Now I shouldn't have done that. Let's go back to the mobile, because now we need to style out the form. So for our form, this is how it looks, and on mobile it looks like this. So it's basically the same structure. It's basically the same structure as on desktop, only that on desktop this is a on the left and then the form is on the right. So what we're going to do is this. We are going to go inside the second article. So I'm going to say that for the dot container, and then for the second article, then I'm going to say give it a padding or on 3 rem the top and bottom and 1.5 rem on the left and right. And then I'm going to say that for the container and for the second article, I want the H2 and give it a font size of 2 rem so that it is technically the same size as the H1. Because if you take a look at this and this, they do look like the same size, right? But we can't really use two H1s on the same page because of SEO reasons. Now, once we have that, then we can go ahead and let me see, inside this H2, we need to add a bottom margin here to push it away from our form. So let's say margin bottom of about 1 rem. And then we can go inside the form. So container dot second article, and then inside the form. And then inside the form, how did I structure it? I structured it as form and then the divs for each one of these. Okay. Let me see. What I'm going to do is this. I am going to do this. Inside the form, I'm going to access the labels, and then I'm going to turn the labels into block elements so that they are going to be displayed on their own line, like so. Okay. And then let's tell out the labels. Let me say font weight bold. Let's say font size 1 rem, semicolon here. And then let's say margin bottom 0.3 rem to push away just a bit from the input. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is this. Inside the form, I know that we have divs inside. So for the divs, I'm going to say display grid for the divs so that I can go ahead and add a grid gap here of about 1.5 rem to separate out the divs. Okay, that is not what I wanted. I don't want this here. I don't want to go inside the divs. I just want the form. There we go. So 1.5 rem is a bit too big. So let's say 1 rem. And we can deal with 1 rem. That looks okay. And you can see that now we have equal margins all over. Now let's tell the inputs. So for the inputs, I'm just going to copy this, paste it here, and change this into input. So that for the inputs, I can say give it a width of 100% so that they span the entire width. And then I'm going to give it a padding of about, let's say 1 rem on the top and bottom and 1.5 rem, 1.5 rem on the left and right. Give it a border of 1 pixel solid and hashtag 999, which is a very slight gray, and then give it a border radius of about, let's say 0.3 rem, and then remove the outline that they have on mobile and also on desktop. So outline none, and then let's save it. Let's see what we have. So we have that looks okay. And let me see, how does this look on, where is it here? Yeah, that looks okay. We just need this to be 16 pixels or a larger font, really. So I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to say font size 1 rem so that the font size here can be bigger. That looks okay. Now, just to mention this, in case you're wondering why this is centered, it's because we have display grid here. So if I remove it, then this is going to it's not because of display grid. Wait, why is it centered? Why is it centered? What class did I have here? This is second article padding margin bottom h2. Let me disable this form, the entire classes, just so that I can see this. Okay. Oh, you know what? It's because of this. It's because of width 100%. Yeah, it's because of width 100%. So what we need to do is this. We are going to say that for the input with a type of checkbox, there is something in CSS that is called not. How do you use not? Not CSS. Not. So let's see, load in. So demo not. So it says colon not. Okay, so let me say colon not, and then we're going to say not an input with a type of checkbox. Is this going to work? So let me save it. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So just to explain this, what we are doing here is we are saying that style all the inputs here. Sorry, let me try again. Okay. So what we're saying is we want to style all the inputs inside the form with the following classes, except the input that has a type of checkbox. Now we know that the input with the type of checkbox is obviously this one, which is the terms and condition thingy. And you can see that now these ones have a full width, but the input with the type of checkbox does not have a full width, and that is what we want to happen. Now once you do that, then what we need to do is we need to go and style out this link. So for the link, we're going to say the following. We are going to say that inside the form, we want to go inside the small tag and then inside the anchor tag, because that's how we structured it in our HTML. And then we're going to say text decoration none to remove the underline. And then we're going to change the color to hashtag, one of the colors that we have on top, which is this darker one, and save it. And we should have the following. Wait a minute. Does it have a... Oh, it's underlined. It's underlined. Okay. So we're going to just remove this so that it's underlined by default. We're going to have that, and then we're going to change the font weight to bold. So font weight, bold. And we're going to have that. That looks nice, nice, nice. Now all we need to do is just tell the button. And for the button, we're just going to copy this and say that for the form and then the button, we want the background color to be hashtag this one. We want the text color. What is the color of the text? It's white. Okay, so we want the color to be white. We want the font size to be 1 rem. We want the font weight to be bold. And then let's see, we want the padding to be 1 rem on the top and bottom, 1.5 rem on the left and right. But we're not really going to see this padding on the left and right in action, because it's going to be full width by default. By the way, it's full width by default. And the reason why it's full width is because we have display grid on our parent container, which is the form. And then let's remove this border that it has. See, it has a slight border, so we're going to say border none. And then I also want to remove the default outline that it has when you focus on it, so outline none. And then we want to add a border radius, so we're going to say border radius of about 0.3 rem. And that gives it a slight border. That looks okay. That does look nice, nice, nice. Now this is what we're going to have on mobile. So all you need to do now is just scale this up for desktop size designs, and you can see how this is going to look by just changing this to an iPad Air, and this is the desktop design. So let me say, let's use the iPad mini because I want to use the breakpoint of 768 pixels. Now what we're going to do is this. Let's zoom this in fit to window. Can't it zoom in any bigger? Doesn't look all that nice, but we can work with that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add a media query here. So I'm going to say at media for a min width of 768 pixels, meaning for any width that is greater than 716 pixels, then the styles that we're going to write inside here are going to apply. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside the class of container and display container as a grid with grid template columns to repeat twice and 1 fractional column each. And what this will do is it's going to display this and this side by side. And you know what? I'm actually doing this wrong because it's not displayed like that on tablet. Let me just check with the tablet design. There we go. So for tablet design, this doesn't go all the way to the end. So let's change this media query up. Let's change this into 1024 pixels, which are laptop size screens, so that now when I save this, then it goes back to the default design on desktop. And so therefore what we need to do is we need to just, let me copy this media query on top so that I can change this to 768 pixels. And what we need to do here is we're going to say that for the container class, we want it to be limited so that it doesn't go all the way to the end. And the way we do that is just by adding in a max width here and setting the max width to about 500 pixels. And what that will do is the following. So it limits it so that, let me change this back to 50% so that you can see the entire screen. Not really ideal, but let's just work with that. So you can see that now our container is limited. It doesn't go all the way to the end. Now I want it to be centered. And the way we do that is just by going and adding a margin here of auto, which is going to center everything. But I want to add a margin on the top and bottom so that we have a bit of leeway when scrolling. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to say add a margin of 5 rem on the top and bottom, and then auto on the left and right, meaning now we're going to have a margin on the top here and then on the bottom as well, but it's still going to be auto on the left and right so that our container is still centered. Now we need to add our background image here, which is our linear gradient. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to go above this and say that for the body, I want a background here, which is going to come from URL, and it comes from /assets/background.png. Now, when I save this, then we should be able to see it. Now, this is not how it looks in the design, right? So let me place this full screen because of a demonstration that I'm going to show. And then we're going to also play around with this. And you know what, just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to comment out this entire div that has a class of container so that we only remain with the body, so that we're going to see what we're going to have on the screen. Now, if I were to zoom out, you will notice that we are only seeing the first part of the image. In fact, only the top left, because if I go back to 100%, you see we can't even see the white color here. We don't see this light orange or brown color here, or this other color on the bottom right. And then once it reaches like this part, it cuts out, and then the image starts again from here. We don't want that to happen. So we're going to add another property here that is called background repeat, and set it to no repeat, meaning don't repeat the background once it reaches the end. So that now you can see that the image reaches here and then it just cuts out because we are not repeating the background anymore. Now I want this image to take up the full width no matter the device that I'm going to be viewing it on, right? So we're going to add another background property here, and we're going to say, what is it? We're going to say background size, and then we're going to say cover. So save this and look at this now. Now, whether I zoom in or whether I zoom out, we don't really see a difference in the background, okay? And just to explain something, the reason why when I reach 500 or what is this, like 250% zoom, is because 250% is when I zoom in, it becomes lesser than this. And we know that anything less than this does not display the background color. So just in case you're wondering, okay? And so now once we have this, then this looks okay as it is. But what you'll usually see in most people's code is that they are not going to be writing all these properties out. They're going to be using a shorthand property. And so now what I'm going to do is this. Therefore, I'm going to comment these two out. And then the shorthand property that I'm going to do is I'm just going to append them to the end. And I'm going to say no repeat. And then set it to the center and just save it. And you can see that now this does look okay, but something is broken, right? Something is broken. Because now the colors don't really, they're not really showing all the colors properly. So we need to therefore add another property here that is called background size. And actually, I'm sorry for that. I didn't explain this really, but this is the background position. So we are setting the background position to center. That's why you can't really see the edges of the bright pink here or the really white one on the right. So we're going to set to center / cover, meaning background position center and then background size cover, so that when I save this, then now this is going to happen. And why does this happen? And so now what you notice is when you set background position to center and the background size to cover, then this is what happens. And the reason why this happens is because we need to set a height on this image so that it takes up 100 viewport heights, or the entire screen that you're going to be viewing this on. And the way you do that is just by setting a minimum height, min height, and set it to 100 viewport heights. And that takes up the entire screen. And you can see that now we can see the entire image looking quite nice. Okay, now that we have that, then let's go ahead and let's remove the comments here so that we can actually see what we have. And now we have our login form looking quite ugly. But on what's this called, on tablet, it also looks a bit ugly. Now the reason why that happens is, let me just place this full screen because I'm thinking the tablet size is a bit too small. And then let me comment this out just so that we can see the tablet view. So this is how it looks on tablet, right? This is how it looks on tablet. We want to add a background color on this form so that it doesn't behave like this. So we're going to go where we have our form right on top here and give it a background color of white, and that is going to do that. I know that's not the correct part. It should be on the second article here. Oops, there we go. So that now, let me place this on top so that now this covers the login form. And then now what we need to do is, if you take a look at the design, then this is rounded here. And then it's not rounded on the top, but I'm going to make it rounded because this bothers me. So what I'm going to do is the following. We're going to go inside the second article. We're going to add a border radius, and we're going to say border radius all round of, sorry, not on the second article. Sorry. We should be on the container. So let's go inside our media query, and inside the container, then we're going to add a border radius of about, let's say 0.5 rem all round. And this should now be rounded, but it's not rounded. Why are you not rounded? Border radius 0.5 rem. Am I doing that wrongly? Let's see. Let's say that for the dot container, and then I want to go for the dot second article, and then bring this downwards, save it. Let's see. Okay, so it's not rounded on the container. Oh, you know what? The reason why it's not rounded is because of the background colors that we have here. So if I were to go inside, if I were to set that for the container and then both articles, and then I set the overflow to hidden, then it should now be rounded or not. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that. Let's just do this. Let's say that for the dot container and then for the second article, and then let's bring this downwards here. But you're going to notice that this is going to be a problem because it is now rounded even on top. I don't want it to be rounded on the top, only on the bottom. So the way we're going to do that is by defining a border radius for each of the four corners. And the way we're going to do that is by going, and we're going to say that 0 on the top left, 0 on the top right, 0.5 rem on the bottom right, and 0.5 rem on the bottom left, because it goes in a clockwise direction. So that's how you define border radius for each of the four corners. And then we're going to do the opposite for this top one. So let's just copy this downwards. So copy and paste, change this into first article. And then now this is going to be the opposite. So we want it to be rounded on the top left and top right, but 0 on the bottom right and 0 on the bottom left. So save it, and you can see that it is now rounded here and here, but it is not rounded here or here. So that's looking okay. And then now what we need to do is we need to now style this out for larger screens. So let's add in our media query here. And then for the container now, I want to increase the max width, because remember I limited it to about 500 pixels here. So I'm going to say the following. I'm going to say give it a max width of about, let's say 900 pixels. And that's looking okay. And then now what we need to do is, obviously we need to reset our, what's this called, border radius. We need to reset the border, or radii, however you want to pronounce it. So let's copy these two properties here, or these two styles rather, and then we're going to say now we want this to be rounded on the top left but not on the top right. So we're going to say 0 on the top right, and then 0 on the bottom right, but 0.5 rem on the bottom left. So it is not rounded here or here, but it is rounded here and here. And then we want to do the opposite for this second article. So for the second article, we're going to say 0 on the top left, 0.5 rem on the top right, and then 0.5 rem on the bottom right, and 0 on the bottom left. That should be it. And then we will now need to add a border all around our container. So we're just going to say border of 1 pixel solid and hashtag, where is hashtag 999, and that is going to do that. And this is not rounded. This is not rounded. Oh, it is rounded. It's rounded, but the reason why we see the sharp corners is because we need to add a border radius on the container so that it is also rounded. So border radius of 0.5 rem on the container, so that it is also rounded on as just like the articles inside it. Okay, now once you do that, then we need this to move to the center. So let me see, how do you do that? Am I going to say, let me say align item center? This might break, so let's hopefully it doesn't. Yeah, it does. So align item center, now we need this to stretch out. So I think if I go inside the second article here and set the height to 100%, it should fix it. There we go. Okay, that doesn't fix it, because now it just goes back to the way it was. So let's say, oops, let's say this. How do I fix that? Let me see. We have second article, we have first article. So what if I go here and say display grid, and then I say align item center? If I say place item center, what happens? Nope. If I say place content, there we go, place content center. Okay, so display grid and place content center right here, and this now moves to the center, and I think that's how it looks. That's how it looks in the design. Oh, wait a minute, that's not how it looks in the design, but I'm too lazy to get it to look like this. Okay, yeah, so if you want to get it to look exactly like it does in the design, then you can go ahead, but this is enough for me. And I think my font is a bit too small, but anyway, you know, those are things that you can fix by yourself. And so what I'm going to do now is I want to submit this. I want to upload the code to GitHub. But remember, like I said in the beginning, I had already done this project. But then, oh, actually, here it is. Here's the submission. So I already done this project. But when I went to check out the video, I realized that the audio was cutting out. So I'm not going to submit it again, but I'm just going to, like, you know, just update the code base really. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this repository so that I can just upload this new one. And I do know that there's an easier way to do it, but I just want to delete it because I don't want this. I don't want it. So where's delete? Delete. I want to delete. I understand. And then let's type this. Oh, really? I have to type it out. Oops. / Gradie sign page. Delete. And oh, come on, really? Let's just go through this authentication. GitHub. And there we go. So let it open up. There we go. And then now once that is deleted, then I want to create a new repository with the same name. So Gradie sign up page, there we go. And then I can just say create repository, and then copy this link, and then let's submit it. So I'm going to open up my terminal, and then I'm going to say git init, and then git add all, and then git commit, and I'm going to say initial commit, and then I'm going to say git git branch -m, capital M, main, and then git remote add origin, and then paste in our link, and then git push -u origin main, and then that is going to push it to our remote repository, so that once it's done and then I reload this, then we should be able to see it right there. So there we go. And so that is going to be the end of the video. And if you enjoyed it, then please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.